John Morton, Kelvin Sheppard, proving that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't all Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Let's Talk Lions. Welcome back to an all-new episode here at Let's Talk Lions. My name is Jay. Thank you for hanging out. Look, the main talk of the offseason was the coordinators. The coordinators are leaving, right? The main talk of the offseason was the coordinators are leaving. Aaron Glenn taking a job at the Jets. Ben Johnson betraying all of us, going to the Bears. And there was this thing where the narrative became the Lions are screwed. They're dead. There's nothing left. Who are they going to be? And then the Lions come out week one and not just poop the bed, but like pooping it, rolling it, pick it up, smear it all over the walls and go, that's art. Because, I mean, it kind of, like art's art. And if it's abstract, it works. Just this wild thing where week one, the Lions looked so bad. Our boys we just looked sluggish. We looked disorganized, disheveled. Everything looked terrible. And there was this weird thing where I'm like, now just try to stay calm. It's week one. Week one is usually a liar. It usually, you're like, this team's good, this team's bad. And people started buying into the narrative that was, yep, we were right. The Lions are screwed. The Packers are going to the Super Bowl. And that's the end. I don't think that the Packers losing to the Browns means that they're not good enough to make it all the way. That's just asinine. So the fact that people week one looked at the Lions and said, they're not good enough because they look so bad against the Packers is asinine. It was asinine. And if that was you, you know it. and that's okay. It's okay to have a hot take and opinions. What I'm trying to get at here is I don't look at the Packers losing what I look at is, and I'm like, okay, Jordan Love is as inconsistent as we all thought. And I think it's fair to look at the Lions against the Packers and say, okay, Ben Johnson mattered. But Ben Johnson wasn't everything. And I think that has been put to bed based on what we saw, not just against Chicago, but against the Ravens. Yes, the Lions come out and absolutely torch the Bears because you should. Okay? Because you should. The Lions roster, Jared Goff, seasoned vet at quarterback, Dan Campbell, seasoned head coach, Kelvin Sheppard you should torch the Bears. And thankfully we did. However, against the Ravens, that's where I looked at it and I was like, this is the real test. Yeah, it was a statement game of against the Bears. Watch us put up 52. Great. I'll always take 52 points. But against the Ravens, I was like, you got to run with them and you can't get smothered. You have to actually put up a fight. And if you lose and you lose by 3, you lose by 7, okay, I can accept that if it's a good game and it's clean. The Lions played absolutely one of the cleanest 4 quarters of football I have seen them play in my life. It was some of the most against a phenomenal team. That's the other thing where I'm looking and I'm like, you got to remember, you're playing against a stellar squad in Derrick Henry, in Lamar Jackson, in Harbaugh, 18 years with the Ravens as the coach. Like, I mean, and they're missing a few guys, but all in all, I guess what I'm trying to get at here is in the first 2 weeks, the Lions converted, what was it, once or twice? I think it was once on 14 third down attempts. And then against the Ravens, out of the park. There they are converting. I've got it here. It was 7 for 14. So 1 for 14 in 2 weeks and then 7 for 14 in one game. Convert 3 for 3 on 4th downs. And the DNA of who Dan Campbell is on that Jared Goff just placing it perfectly for St. Brown, who just barrels through the line, even after getting held, still makes the play, and you clinch it. And I just look at it, and I'm like, John Morton against the Bears proved, hey, don't worry, we've got all the pieces, and you should do what you did. But then against the Ravens, he comes in a different way, and he's like, hey, Those gadget plays, that tricky, here it is to Saint and then to Jahmyr Gibbs for the touchdown. All those little gadget things where you're like, wow, okay, it's making me wonder a little bit more about who's steering the ship. And it's Dan Campbell, and it has been. And it has been. And this is a video that I put out back in the summer where I was like, I look at it like, you got Dan Campbell. You've got the right guy at the helm. You've got the main man. And I had people in the comments be like, oh, you think that coordinators don't matter? That's not what I'm friggin' saying. I think coordinators do matter. But I think what matters most is who's steering the ship, who is in front of the helm. And when the sea gets rocky, when the sea gets stormy, who is the guy that everybody looks to at the top? And it's Dan Campbell. And I love Kelvin Sheppard. And I love that he's been with the Lions now for, 4 years? And that they've been grooming him to become the next DC because Campbell saw it in him. Aaron Glenn saw it in him. Here he is. And then we get 7 sacks on a mobile quarterback, one of the shiftiest quarterbacks in the NFL. Lamar Jackson's legs he is so good at running. He is so good at that shifty little mobile. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, like 1 on Henry, 1 on Lamar, should have been 2 picks, 1 on Henry, 1 on Lamar. And you just sit there and you think to yourself, I loved Aaron Glenn and I loved Ben Johnson. But in the end, I love Dan Campbell. He leads the men and he leads the Detroit Lions. And I love the guys that he has put in place to become OC and to become DC. And I'm so happy for John Morton. And I'm so happy that John Morton and Kelvin Sheppard, I think, have laid to rest the questions in the narrative of the coordinators. It's done. Like, to me, it's done. And if the national media wants to keep dragging it from hell or from the river Styx, then so be it. But I'm like, let that thing go. It's kind of like when they were holding on to SOL over and over again. You're like, just shut up. It's over. And it can be over. So I'm really looking forward to what we dial up against the Browns. I'm really looking forward to, because you don't want to get caught the way the Packers did with your pants down. And where you look terrible against the team that you should not be scoring only 10 points against. You just shouldn't. And I'm excited to see what we dial up, how the offense comes out. It's home. So it's like, keep rolling, man. Keep rolling. And just focus on the game ahead. Just focus on the game at hand. And that's the Cleveland Browns. And so I'm thankful that I believe that narrative has been put to rest. Maybe you don't, and that's fine, because week 1 we looked stagnant, but it sounds like it was all miscommunication, because week 2 we looked like the Lions of the last 2 years, and then against the Ravens we looked even better, in my opinion, because you're not playing a crap team, you're playing a great team. So great to see, happy about that, looking forward to what we do against Cleveland, and really how to keep this thing rolling. What's the media what's gonna be the new narrative? I don't know. It'll be interesting. They'll come up with something. They always do. But anyways, that is it. Those are my thoughts heading into this game against Cleveland. I might put out another video where we break it down, but don't worry. We will do a post-game show right after the show. And then against Cincinnati, I should have the Ethernet cable and everything good to go, where we're going to just start live streaming every post-game show. So then you don't even have to wait. The moment the game's over, boom, me and the boys will be in the garage 5, 10, 15 minutes later and live streaming. You guys can call in 313-486-0292 while we're streaming. And we'll throw you on. We'll hear your thoughts about the game. We'll converse. We'll talk about it. And we're just going to have fun, man. This has been one of the most fun seasons. Having the space has made it possible. And very thankful for where this is going. So enjoy the day. Enjoy knowing that the narrative has been put to rest. And look forward to Cleveland.